Tenet is arguably the worst movie Christopher Nolan has made, and pretty much everybody who watched this movie did not like this movie that much. It had mixed reception, and so today we're going to talk about the pitfalls and the problems with this film and what could have been done. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And please, thanks for watching and subscribe to Cinephile with a Twist. I would appreciate it. First off, let's talk about why the high expectations were there for this film. This film came right after his last film, which was Dunkirk. So this Dunkirk being his last film, the expectations were super high. And before that, he had done Dark Knight Rises and Inception and Interstellar. But even though Dark Knight Rises wasn't that good of a film, it still pretty much was a huge film and people were excited. So yeah, he was on a roll. No one could stop him. He couldn't be stopped. And then out of nowhere, this movie with a sci-fi concept with time travel, everybody was hyped because, to be honest, everybody thought this was going to be like Interstellar or Inception. But then the movie came out and then we all know like what happened. Now, one of the major issues with this film is its story. The story follows the protagonist, played by John David Washington, who is trying to prevent World War III from happening. Now, to be honest, this is an insane and interesting concept that Christopher Nolan could pull off. But it loses itself in this time travel and this story because the story isn't flowing. If you look at any of his films or any incredible film like Goodfellas or any Marvel movie too, like, to be honest, the story feels flowing, and every story has to feel flowing. It has to feel that from one scene to the next scene to each plot line, it makes sense that it's going there. It shouldn't be forced. From the protagonist trying to go to India to find who made that bullet to everything that's happening, it feels forced. It doesn't feel that this is the right direction for this movie. It feels that we're just like, Christopher Nolan is trying to get from one point to the other so that he can get to these main parts, but it's never flowing. He always has his balance. Like, for example, in Inception, the story is flowing where we see from the start Dom messes up and then Saito gives him a chance to go back to his kids, and so he has to do this Inception, and so we see him go form a team and then teach Ariadne everything he knows, and then he forms a team. He prepares the reverse heist, as I like to call it, and then he goes on and he does this heist, and then what happens in the heist, it feels flowing. But this doesn't feel flowing. It feels like he's just like, let's do this. We gotta get there. So how do we get there from here? Another important thing is characters. In any storytelling medium, comics, movies, books, characters are important. You may not be a character guy, but characters are important because that's the only way you care. Without incredible writing for characters like Iron Man or Captain America, you would not care for what's happening in Endgame. So to be honest, when this film came out, the characters should be the focus and the reason for all of this is happening. They should drive the plot. But none of that is happening. We don't understand why the protagonist wants to stop World War III. We don't understand his motivations and how he's in this. And I get it. In James Bond movies, James Bond doesn't have that much of this big thing because he's a spy and it's his job. But they still find a way to make it related to him. Now let's just look at this scene.
Shouldn't be long now.
I've been thinking, we're their ancestors. If they destroy us, won't that destroy them?
Let's bring us to the grandfather paradox.
For what?
If you went back in time and killed your own grandfather, how could you have been born to commit the act?
What's the answer?
There's no answer. It's a paradox. But in the future, those in power clearly believe you can kick grandpa downstairs, gouge his eyes out, slit his throat without consequence.
Could they be right?
Doesn't matter. They believe it. So they're willing to destroy us. I know where to sleep now.
No, I thought of something else.
Great.
This reversing the flow of time. Doesn't us being here now mean it never happens? Could we stop them?
Optimistically, I'd say that's right.
Pessimistically?
In a parallel worlds theory, we can't know the relationship between consciousness and multiple realities. Is your head hurt yet?
Yes.
Try sleep.
Now, to be honest, there's nothing wrong with having a lot of science. He has a lot of science in his movies, tons of movies. But there's so much science that average movie going audiences don't like that, and by that I mean they don't understand it. They have to explain it in layman's terms or try to keep that stuff away, because that's very hard for normal moviegoers to understand these concepts, because that those concepts are not made for them. Now, another thing is that time inversion concept is really cool, but when you see it on the screen, it boggles your mind. So your mind is already boggled with this. Your mind is also boggled with this weird story and these characters and the science, that it becomes this mess where it loses its core idea. It doesn't find this balance that most amazing movies or any storytelling medium finds. So now let's talk about what could have been done with this film. Now, to be honest, the future attacking the past, that's an incredible idea. I'm not gonna lie, that is an incredible idea that Christopher Nolan can only pull off. So that should be the center of this movie, that they don't know who's attacking. The protagonist is not just a spy who knows this. He's trying to find out who is attacking. That is it for other countries, or is it aliens, or is it what? So, and that should be the main focus that the audience doesn't know about, because that is an incredible concept. Second thing, when the time travel is happening, it should happen related to the protagonist's past. That the protagonist should be connected here with his inner demons coming out during this thing, and we see his past. That is what should be done. Now, another thing is, I feel like the protagonist should be in the present, and Neil, the character played by Robert Pattinson, should be in the future. Now, because of this, we would follow both of them in two different paths. Then by the end of the film, the twist would be that the future is attacking the past, and they would both meet. And I feel like then there should be a sequel, because this story is so massive and feels like an epic that I think it needs two parts to explain it. So yeah, that's what I think should have been done. Again, Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time, and this movie is literally one of the worst movie he has made, in my opinion. But him making a horrible movie is pretty good for other filmmakers. So without a doubt, this movie has its downfalls, its moments, but to be honest, it needs another guy to read it and say, rewrite that part. Let's rewrite this. Let's rewrite this. But yeah, well, now Oppenheimer's coming out, so I'm pretty excited for that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and please subscribe. This is a new channel, and I hope you guys like this content. We got more coming soon.